In today's jazz guitar lesson, I'm going to show you my favourite changes for playing the classic tune Over the Rainbow. Now this lesson is thanks to my patrons who voted for it to be standard of the month. Now check the description for a link to the chords and the chart and the harmonic analysis from today's lesson, as well as a link to my Patreon page. Now let's get on to the chords. Now, Over the Rainbow was written in 1939 by Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg, who added lyrics to it, and it was written for the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz and first sang by Judy Garland. And obviously the popularity of that film has meant this song has had a very broad appeal. Many musicians from different genres and styles have done different takes on it. As a result, there are so many different ways you can play the chords to this tune. It's been interpreted in so many different ways. And I've come up with my own sort of favoured way of playing the chords based on a lot of the nice typical variations, especially jazz musicians like to do on this one. And the form on this one is your typical of the era AABA, and that is 32 bars each section, being 8 bars, and it's often played in the key of E flat. So E flat, just remind ourselves what that means. That means chord 1 E flat major, chord 2 F minor 7, chord 3 G minor 7, chord 4 A flat major 7, 5 the dominant B flat 7, 6 the relative minor C minor 7, 7 D minor 7 flat 5, back to chord 1. So keep your eye out for a few of those chords. So I've got my chart on my screen. You can get this link in the description, and I'll put it on the screen for you also and just talk you through the chords. Now here's the first A section on the screen, and your first thing to notice is that every bar has 2 chords in it. Now all of them bar 1 bar, the second bar, has the chords changing on beats 1 and 3. Take the first bar, it goes 1, 2, then second chord 3, 4. So that's a very typical thing, and we call that the harmonic rhythm of the song. So chords changing on beats 1 and 3, very typical. So we start out on E flat major 7. I'm going to play that twice, and then we've got C minor 7, moving to G minor 7. Now we're going to play this for 3 beats, 1, 2, 3, then put an E flat 7 on beat 4, moving to A flat 6, to A flat 7, to G minor 7, to C 7. Next line, A flat 6, A flat minor 6, beautiful move. G minor 7, C 7 flat 9, F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat major 7, B flat 7. So that's the first A section. In terms of chord voicings I've picked, yes, there's a bit of a mixture of 3-note and 4-note voicings. I've tried to make it as sort of fluid and easy as possible, going to voicings which I think work well together. But let me just play that for you. So it went 1, 2, 3, 4. First A section. So here's the second A section. Now if you did want, you could play the first A section again, but as I said, I've tried to show you a few different ways you can play the A section in this song, because you know it often gets quite different treatment depending on what artist is playing it. Now we start out the same, E flat major 7 to C minor 7, G minor 7 to that E flat 7 on beat 4. Now this is where things start to change a little bit. We're going to go A flat 6, and then instead of A flat 7, we're going to go A diminished, and then instead of G minor 7, we're going to go E flat with the 5th and the bass. I'll break down the harmony later to a C7. So the bass is gone. A flat, A, B flat, C. Instead of A flat 6 to A flat minor 6, we're going to go F minor 7. And then this, you could look at this chord as F minor 7 flat 5, or you could call it D flat 9 slash F without D flat. And then E flat major 7 to C7, F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat major major 7, B flat 7. So that was. Section. So that's the first two A sections. As I said, you could pick and choose which A section you prefer if you like, or try both or play both. On to the B section. Here is on the screen. We've got 8 bars, and we start out on E flat major 7, whole bar this time, and then F minor 7, B flat, and then we're going to go up, G minor 7, C 7, and then back to F minor 7, B flat 7. So then the second half of the B section, back to E flat major 7, then we get this lovely twist and turn, A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 flat 9, which leads us nicely to G minor 7. We're working our way back for another A section to G flat diminish, then F minor 7, B flat 7. So that second line. B section. It's got that, absolutely love that change from the A minor 7 flat 5 to the D7 flat 9. It's definitely the kind of real emotional pull, the heart-wrenching bit in that song. So we've done the first two A sections. In the B section, we've just got that third A, the final A, to look at. Now, at the start of the A section, it's typical, like in the first two A sections, to play E flat major 7. Now, what quite often happens, though, if in the really kind of impactful versions, is they play this instead. So instead of like E flat major 7, C minor 7 like we did, we're going to go A minor 7 flat 5, D 7 flat 9 like we had in the B section, going to G minor 7, and then let's go A flat 6 to the A diminished again, same as the second A, E flat slash B flat to C7, and then last line, F minor 7, little change here to D flat, E flat major 7, C7, and then seeing our way back home, F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat major 7, B flat 7. So obviously, if we were finishing the song, we'd finish on an E flat major 7. Now here's one to do the chords for you close up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second A section now. flat major 7 to finish. Now this naturally brings us to trying to figure out what's going on with those chords harmonically. Now when I put this chart together, this version of the chords that I like, I did tons of listening. I listened to lots of versions and kind of picked out my favoured way of playing the chords from those. Now we need to remind ourselves what I looked at earlier in the lesson was what is the key of E flat major, and it means the following chords. If you harmonise an E flat major scale, it means chord 1 E flat major 7, chord 2 F minor 7, 3 G minor 7, 4 B A flat major 7, 5 B flat 7, 6 C minor 7, chord 7 D minor 7 flat 5, E flat major 7. Now the song used quite a few of those. It had chord 1 E flat major 7, used chord 2 a lot, F minor 7, definitely chord 3, G minor 7. We didn't have A flat major 7, but we had the variations of that, A flat 6, and we obviously had B flat 7 and C minor 7, so quite a few of those chords featured. Now on my analysis, any of those chords I'm going to label them in blue for being in key. Anything outside of those chords will be in red, so out of key. So here's the first A section on the screen. You notice the blue and the red, blue in key, red out of key. We start out on chord 1, E flat major 7, then we go to chord 6, C minor 7, then chord 3, G minor 7. Then we got our first out of key chord, E flat 7. In the red I've labelled it as 1-7 because it's chord 1 but as a dominant 7, so an out of key chord. But you'll notice above I've also written 5/4. And this is because E flat 7 is the 5, it's the dominant of A flat. In the key of A flat, our next chord, E flat 7 would be chord 5. So we call this the 5 of 4 though when we're in E flat because we're playing the dominant, the 5th of chord 4, A flat. So it leads us perfectly to A flat basically, like in a blues when it goes from 1 to 4. Then we're going to go to A flat 7, so this is out of key, so chord 4 is a dominant, leading down a semitone to G minor 7, chord 3, and then another out of key chord, another secondary dominant, chord 6 is a dominant, C7. I'm going to go back to chord 4 and do a classic move in harmony and make 4 minor. See, it goes red. And then we're going to go to chord 3, back to chord 6 as a dominant. Now you'll notice there, I've labelled that in the blue and the red, but also above, you could look at that as a 2-5 from the key of F. G minor 7, C7, so F is a 2-5 in that key. So two ways of saying the same thing really. You know, it's either G minor 7, chord 3, going to chord 6 as a dominant. Most of you will probably recognise that as a 2-5 from the key of F though. And then to close out the A section, we go 2 F minor 7, 5 B flat 7 to chord 1 to chord 5. So really, when you listen out for the red chords, you can hear them. Really sad one there. And noticing at the end, you know, we need to get back to chord 5, B flat 7 at the end there, so I'm putting it on my screen, because the next section, the A section, starts on chord 1. Now here's the second A section on the screen. It's, as I said earlier, it's slightly different to the first A section. We'll explain some of those. It starts out the same though, so chord 1 to chord 6 to chord 3, then chord 1 as a dominant. And little difference in this bar, we're going to go chord 4, and then we're going to have what's called the sharp 4 diminished chord. So because 4 is A flat, we've got that A flat 6, and we're going to build a dominant, we're going to raise that 4th, have a sharp 4 diminished, which then leads us to an E flat chord with the 5th in the bass. That's this E flat slash B flat. And by the way, that's what those little numbers refer to. That means it's an E flat chord with its 5th in the bass in second inversion. Now that leads us quite nicely there. Now the other thing that's happening here, in the first A section, in this bar, in the 4th bar, we played G minor 7. Now a really common sub is to sub chord 3, G minor 7 in the key of E flat, for chord 1. They're interchangeable, they share a lot of notes, so that's a common sub that happens. So we've gone to chord 1 with the 5th in the bass, then to chord chord 6 as a dominant. And then this last line of this second A section, got F minor 7, and then here's a curious chord, this D flat 9 slash F, so it's got its third in the bass. You might also recognise this chord as many other chords. You know, it's a chord which could go by several names. This, the D flat 9, it could be F minor 7 flat 5, it could also be A flat minor 6. You know, so it's a chord which has many lives, if you like, many guises. But if you look at the way I've labelled it as the flat 7 7. Now what that is, it's another way to get back to chord 1. So the typical way we get back to chord 1, like in this song, is chord 5, B flat 7. But another really common way that composers use is to use a dominant, a tone below to chord 1. So if you've got E flat, go down a tone, you'd have D flat 7. And that would be another way to get back to 1. If you listen, loads of songs use it. And it's called the flat 7 7 because if you think about the E flat major scale, the 7th note is a D, so if you flatten that you get D flat, which is why we call it the flat 7 7. So it leads us back. So this bit here, F minor 7, D flat 9, remember D flat 9 is a dominant sound, leads us really nicely to chord 1. Then we go back to chord 6 as a dominant, and then C out the A section with 2, 5, 1, 5. We need the 5 at the end because the B section starts on chord 1, E flat. So first line of the B section starts on chord 1, whole bar, then we get 2, 5, and then we get chord 3, G minor 7, to chord 6 as a dominant. Now C7 also happens to be the dominant from the key of F or F minor, so that leads us perfectly to F minor. So we could call chord 6 the 5 of 2 because it's the 5th of the dominant, secondary dominant. Back to chord 5, B flat 7. Then we go back to chord 1, E flat major 7. Then here we get a really great move. We get a 2-5, a minor 2-5 from the key of G minor. So D7 leads us to G minor because it's the 5 of that. And then we go to the flat 3 diminished. So if you think G's are 3, so if you go to G flat, and then we get 2, F minor 7, 5. So in that first bit, the first line is quite, you know, it's got that C7 out of key, which leads you nicely back to the F minor. But it's really that A minor 7 flat 5, D7 flat 9, which is a 2-5, a minor 2-5 from the key of G minor, and it leads us really nicely there. And then just that last bit, the G minor 7, G flat diminished, F minor 7, B flat 7, we need to get back to the next A section. And that third A section, as I said, I like to play this at the start. A flat minor 7 flat 5, sorry, A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 to G minor, which is our minor 2-5-1 in the key of G minor. Now, one thing you might be thinking is, how can we get away with playing those two chords instead of E flat major 7, C minor 7? One reason I think it works so well is the melody note. Well, there's two melody notes in that bar, and they're both E flat, and both of these chords, voiced like this, have E flat on the top. So, and obviously D7 leads us to chord 3, G minor 7. We then got chord 1 as a dominant to lead us to chord 4, then the sharp 4 diminished. This is just the same as earlier. So chord 1 with the 5th in the bass to chord 6 as a dominant, which leads us to the 2 chord really nicely. Then we get the backdoor dominant again, the flat 7 thing, to chord 1, to chord 6 as a dominant, like I said, C7 leads you to F minor 7, B flat 7 leads you to E flat major 7, back to B flat, and we're done. So a couple things in there to notice, just things you want to remember, you know, how, you know, in a song, yes, we've got one dominant, which is B flat, but we get other dominants because they lead to other chords and create nice movements. In this one, we have C7 leading to F minor 7 a few times. We have D7 leading to G minor. We have D flat 7 or D flat 9 leading to E flat. So you get used to them. If you played a load of songs in E flat major, which would be, you know, a good thing to do, it's a very common key for jazz, you'd notice these things coming up again and again. Now, if you'd like to learn more about this song, over on Patreon this month, there is a comping study which breaks down how to comp a ballad. There is the chord melody, there is a beginner's solo, and also an intermediate solo, plus also my fretboard knowledge lesson and theory lesson coming later this month. So link in the description for all of that. If you've got any questions regarding anything from today's lesson, then please leave me a question. I'll get back to you. But until next time, you take care.